Hello, friends. Welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start this video with a story about an overworked employee who is accused of being lazy for not handling just 7 to 8 emails a day. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. When management demanded proof of my workload. Some context. I work in an outsourcing company. Before I joined, there were 2 people doing my job, but both left before I started, leaving me alone to do the work of 2 people. I was responsible for sending weekly reports to the client's head, and the client would visit the job site once a year. Now, as part of control and reporting, there was a general mailbox where the client was supposed to send all requests that needed addressing. I had to deal with 30 to 40 different people from the client side, plus the client head. They didn't give a damn about the general mailbox and would always email my personal inbox, ignoring the shared one almost all the time. Since I was alone handling the workload of 2 people, I was constantly behind, and then I'd get the idiots on the other side constantly complaining to the client head, who in turn would complain to my managers, asking how it's possible that I couldn't handle 7 or 8 daily emails and was behind on my work. The weekly report stated that I was only getting 7 to 8 emails from the client a day, completely ignoring the phone calls, personal inbox, and Skype chats through which people were contacting me daily. So the client head complains to the managers and escalates the issue, calling me a lazy idiot who can't handle a handful of emails a day. Managers set up a meeting to grill me. Manager: Hope you always look so busy, but you're only getting a handful of emails a day and constantly behind on your work. How is this possible? The client isn't happy, and either you improve dramatically or they'll want us to replace you. I explained that the general mailbox wasn't the only thing I dealt with and mentioned all the other ways the client idiots were requesting things. The solution that was decided upon was that I needed to register everything I did during the day on an Excel sheet to show the client head what was going on. I asked for clarification. You mean emails and calls, right? Manager: No, everything. And email the Excel sheet at the end of the workday. So here comes my malicious compliance. I did exactly what I was told. I wrote down everything I did during the workday, including bathrooms, smoke, and coffee breaks. When the client wrote on Skype, I'd log the timestamp when they asked for something and the timestamp of each and every reply. I added everything, which ended up being about 500 lines every day. My personal favorite line was at the end: time wasted to fill in sheet, 1 hour. One manager laughed when he saw my full compliance, the other not so much, but he knew he couldn't do anything because I was just following orders. A few months later, when the client head visited, he told me he loved it. I was told to stop doing it on the 3rd day. They were now aware of what I did during the day. And our second story. Shoppers line up to ask the wrong guy. I used to be a DSD vendor, which is someone who visits a retail store on behalf of a different company and stocks that specific brand item on the shelf of the store. In the U.S., any given person you see stocking chips, beer, snack cakes, greeting cards, sodas, energy drinks, saltines, wine, and a few others, and wearing a uniform different than the store is likely a vendor. It's super common to be mistaken for a worker of the store, and most people realize, oops, sorry, and look embarrassed, and there's nothing else to it. Getting mistaken is just part of the job. I ended up stopping the "I don't work here" line because of ambiguity of this department, and instead used the "I am not employed by the store" as my usual go-to that a lot more people understood quicker. However, I'd been waiting to use a particularly silly concept reply that I came up with, which makes me look dumb so that the people who feel dumb maybe feel less dumb about their mistake. And on this one day, I got my chance. It was a super busy day, the weekend before Christmas, where people were packing the aisles, grabbing last-minute items. The aisle I was stocking my items on was so dense with shoppers that I stepped out between the big main racetrack pallets and bunkers at the ends so I could thin out again. Someone I knew was there, and we struck up a convo. I hadn't seen him in years. He was in town visiting for the week, blah, blah. After a few minutes, as the aisle began to thin down and I was trying to wrap up the convo to get to work, a lady to my side asked if I was done shooting the breeze. "Are you done with your little reunion? There are people who need answers here." Answers? About chips? No, not about chips. What difference does that make? I point to the logo on my sleeve, which had been facing her this whole time. I point to the logo on my front. I point to the logo on my hat. I point to the logo of the box I was leaning on. I work for Chip Vendor. I can tell you where the chip aisle is, or if we have more of a certain kind of chip, but not much else. The reason I'm standing here chatting is because I'm waiting for the chip aisle there, pointing to it, to become less crammed so I can get back to refilling it. Look, I just need to know where the wasp spray is. That was the setup I needed. I don't think I've ever heard of that flavor. She furrowed brow and looked at me speechless briefly. It's not a flavor, it's a spray. You spray it at... I don't think Chip Vendor makes any kind of sprays. You might be thinking of squeeze cheese. That's not one of ours. Just... And she walks away, clearly in too big a hurry to deal with my tomfoolery. My friend stifles his laughter. A guy behind her, who I thought had been waiting to go around her because of the crowd, then walked up to me as if he was in line and without missing a beat blurted, "I'm looking for candles." I don't think I've ever heard of a chip candle. No, not for chips. The kind of candle you put on... If it's not one for chips, I'm not sure why we would be making one. I doubt chip candles or even chip-scented candles might sell very well. Yeah, my friend chimed in. You mostly only want to taste chips. People with chip breath is usually something you want to avoid, not get more of. I don't think chip-scented anything would do very well. No, it has nothing to do... And then he caught himself mid-sentence and saw my logos and restarted. You're not with the store, are you? With a giggle. Correct, I say, grinning back. He pats me on the arm as he walks away and says, Chip Vendor's a good company. Stick with it. You'll do fine. A lady behind him that I didn't notice said, Wait, you're not with the store? No, I'm just waiting for the aisle to... The lady speaks over her shoulder to the roughly 5 to 8 others waiting turns. He doesn't work here. One guy near the back, perturbed, asks, nearly shouting, And why is he telling people where to find things? He must have seen me pointing to the chip aisle. I'm not, I say back. You pointed down that aisle when that first lady asked you. I pointed at the chip aisle because I work for Chip Vendor, as you can see by the 12 chip brand logos all over me. I was saying it has too many people on it to stock right now. My friend offered a sarcastic, I think corrective lenses are on aisle 2 when seeing the grumbling line disperse, and some of the grumblers began to snicker at his remark, and we both had a good laugh. Wow, if someone ignored the dozen chip logos plastered all over your body and still thought you were the go-to guy for wasp spray, they deserved every ounce of chip-flavored sass you dished out. And our last story. When your dream house comes with a nightmare neighbor. My husband and I, both in our late 30s, had spent nearly a decade saving for the dream of moving to a tropical paradise. After years of hard work and sacrifices, we finally did it. We bought half of a duplex in an incredible location right on the water. The house had everything we could have ever wanted, and there was even room for our boat. It was a dream come true. However, the only downside to our little piece of paradise was the neighbor next door, Karen, her partner Bob, and her 3 wild kids. It wasn't exactly the idyllic situation we'd envisioned. You see, our duplex had a quirky setup. One side was a spacious 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom unit, while Karen's side was a modest 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom unit. We ended up with the larger, more expensive side, which seemed perfect for us, but as it turned out, size wasn't the only thing that mattered. One day, a few weeks after we'd settled in, my husband and I were outside enjoying some drinks and soaking in the sun. Suddenly, a delivery truck pulled up into our backyard. I went to investigate and found Karen unloading a giant inflatable bounce house. She was setting it up for a birthday party, but what really threw me off was when she casually told me, It's a family and friends only event, so you'll need to stay inside. Now, I don't know about you, but being told that you can't even enjoy your own backyard felt pretty unreasonable, so I calmly said, Once this is over, you have no access to our backyard, period. Fast forward to the party later that day, things quickly took a turn. One of Karen's drunken guests, apparently confused, stumbled into our house, thinking it was still Karen's place. He walked straight into our living room and tried to use our bathroom. I was shocked. I calmly told him, Karen's house is on the other side, you're in the wrong house. Just as I was about to escort him out, Karen stormed in, red-faced and furious. How dare you make me look bad in front of my friend, she yelled. And how selfish are you for not letting my guests use your bathroom? I was done. I snapped back, Get out of my house, Karen, or I'll call the cops. She left, slamming the door so hard it rattled the windows, and the party soon wrapped up. At that point, I realized it was time to set some serious boundaries. My husband and I had already planned on updating our backyard, so we decided to build a fence to clearly mark the property line and make it clear where her territory ended and ours began. The contractor started working on the fence, and everything seemed fine at first, but of course, Karen wasn't about to let us improve our property without a fight. As soon as she saw what was going on, she stormed out of her house, shouting at the workers to stop immediately. I walked outside, told the workers to ignore, and calmly told Karen, "We're just updating our patio, so mind your business." In typical Karen fashion, she called the cops. When the officer arrived, I explained the situation, showing him the plans for the fence and the fact that we were building on our property with full permission from the landlord. The officer, after listening to Karen's rants, gave her a stern lecture. "You're not allowed to stop them from doing work on their own property," he told her. I swear, I saw Karen's head nearly explode from frustration. She didn't say a word after that and stormed back into her house, slamming the sliding door so hard I thought it might break. At that point, I thought for sure that it would be the last we'd hear from Karen, but as anyone who's ever had a Karen neighbor knows, peace is short-lived. Karen may have been quiet after that incident, but it was only a matter of time before the next confrontation. But at least for now, we had our backyard to ourselves, and that fence marking the clear boundary between her chaos and our peaceful paradise. It's wild how quickly some people will claim ownership over something that isn't theirs, and then act personally offended when you dare set boundaries. Karen really expected to take over your yard, your house, and your bathroom like it was some community center. Good on you for standing firm and getting that fence up, because you know the only cure for a wild Karen infestation is clear property lines and legal backup. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.